Now we turn to number 11 in our series on three cosmic messages, the angels of Revelation 14. And again, we're of course back in the book of Revelation, and we can look at 14, look at 13 and 7. Let's begin in chapter 7. That's the positive aspect on the seal of the living God. I watched another angel rise up from the east holding the seal of the living God. Not specified as to exactly what this seal is, but it's a mark that those people belong to God, that they have his, quote, seal of approval. We often use that phrase, don't we? And in contrast, we have in Revelation 13 of the image of the mark, and maybe we should take a quick look at that. Verse 15, talking about this prophecy. He was permitted to breathe life into the image of the beast so that it could speak, ordering anyone who did not worship to be put to death. He made everyone, whether weak or powerful, rich or poor, free or slave, receive a mark on their right hand or in their foreheads. Nobody was permitted to buy or sell except those who had the mark, which was the name of the beast or the number of his name. And then you have the calculation in terms of 666 and so on. But what I want to do is to jump over into Revelation 14 and look at the difference there in verse 12. It talks about, after the three angels' message, this means the believers must patiently endure, keeping God's commandments and trusting in Jesus. And we've correlated that with the seal of God. This is from Ellen White. Here is the line of distinction between the worshippers of God and those who worship the beast and receive his mark. The great conflict is between the commandments of God and the requirements of the beast. And yes, absolutely, that is true, but it's to be understood in the right way. Because if we simply say the seal of God is the Sabbath, as we have done, let's be honest, that would include everybody who does claim to be followers of this commandment, the fourth commandment, to keep the Sabbath. And that would include the Jews, Seventh-day Baptists, a number of other different Sabbatarian groups and so on. And while we don't want to be in the judging process exactly, do we really want to make that direct equation? Because don't forget, it was these good Sabbath keepers, if I could call them that, who wanted Jesus and the other bodies down from the cross so that they could keep the Sabbath holy. They crucified the Lord of the Sabbath and went back home to keep the Sabbath. Do you see what I'm saying? Just because you say you're keeping the Sabbath, and you may be very meticulously keeping it, doesn't mean to say you have the seal of God. Those people then certainly did not, I would want to suggest, have the seal of God. Not at all. They had rejected God. They had rejected the presentation of Jesus, who said, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. They wanted him dead because he did not meet their ideas of what the Messiah would be like, or their picture of God, because they had a false concept of what God was like and how he would be operating. So the mark of the beast is not simply rejecting the Sabbath, but it's an identification with an apostate system of Christianity. As I put in the notes, it denies Jesus and his message of free and full salvation, of his vindication of the Father, showing what the Father is like, full of grace and truth, we read there in John 1. So as we think about what the mark of the beast is, and it's interesting, we always tend to talk more about the mark of the beast than the seal of God. I don't know why that is. Why don't we talk more about how God identifies with us and calls us his own because we know him and because we trust in him? That to me is more important than pointing the finger and saying you have the mark of the beast, which we should never be doing, I would suggest. Not until the end, when you do have this separation in terms of those who have the seal of God, those who have the mark of the beast. Our desire is to be with God, on his side, identifying with him that right is right, wrong is wrong, and accepting him as he is and saying, Lord, please save me. And in the process of all of that, may you prove that you are truly right and good and fair and just. May we do just that ourselves.